button.
Hi, good morning. My name is Jesus Nava. I'm in the Client Training and Education Department here at TradeStation, and it is a pleasure to be here with all of you to talk a little bit about TradeStation and some of the functionality that is on the platform. We're going to talk about, charting, a little bit about trading, and then we're going to show you some scanning tools that are in TradeStation just to make your trading so much easier. Before we get started, there's some information that I need to go over. The chat window that you see on the right-hand side of the video player, it's an open venue. So everything you say and everything you type in there is seen by everyone that's logged into YouTube. In order for you to be able to chat, you're going to have a YouTube account, and that's very easily created if you want to send questions through the chat window. As we go along through the presentation, I'll look at the chat once in a while to make sure that I answer questions live. If your question is not answered during the presentation, you can use the email address learning@tradestation.com to send those questions to me, and I'll try to provide you an answer over email. But for those of you that have questions about TradeStation, the best way that you guys can find help is actually calling technical support. We have a team that is dedicated 24 hours a day, 6 days a week to answer your questions. So feel free to call 1-800-822-0512. My colleague here will put that number in the chat window so that everyone has it, and it's a way for you to get somebody on the phone to walk you through the different steps of the functionality. We're going to use this class to talk about features from a very high level, just so you know where things are, and just to make the use of TradeStation so much easier, especially now that you're just getting started with TradeStation. So welcome to the TradeStation family, and let's make the most of this presentation. The Getting Started with TradeStation is a 3-part class. Today we're going to do the TradeStation Platform, which is a 60-minute presentation. We'll talk about features of the platform. Later on today at 12 p.m. we're going to do the web and mobile piece. You can take your TradeStation account wherever you are. If it's with a computer's browser or on your mobile device, you can take TradeStation and put in trades. We're going to talk about some of the features that are available for you to put in trades when you're on the go. And next week at 12 p.m. we alternate, between web and mobile and OptionStation Pro. So next week we're going to do a 30-minute presentation on OptionStation Pro. You're welcome to register for that. If everyone looks at the bottom of your video player, you're going to see a Register Now button that'll give you access to registration to all these different classes if you'd like to attend any of them. All right, so that's the makeup of the class. Also, I wanted to talk about some disclosures that are important here in class. Let me just pull them up here on the screen. Keep in mind that every symbol and idea that we talk about here today is for educational purposes only. It is not a recommendation of TradeStation. Everyone that is connected here should be aware of the risks that are associated with trading online. It should only be done with risk capital and is not suitable for everyone, especially when it comes to options, which carry a high degree of risk. If you'd like to read more about our disclosures, they are available on the video player. So if you take your cursor and you hover over the video player, you're going to see an information eye on the top right corner that should have the disclosures there. You may also go to the TradeStation website, tradestation.com, to find the disclosures there as well. All right, so let's get started. I believe that's all the information that I wanted to share with everyone here. So let's talk about TradeStation. This is the TradeStation platform, the one you install on your computer. I'm already logged in, and I'm logged into the TradeStation Trading Simulator. I do recommend that if you're just learning TradeStation, that you log into the simulator. It'll give you an opportunity to test functionality before you risk your own capital. How do you know that you're on the simulator? Look at the bottom right of your TradeStation. Let me point it right there. At the bottom right corner, you're going to see 2 circles, a trading circle, which right now it's blue, meaning that I'm connected to a simulator, and notice the letters SIM, so I am on the simulator. And then you have the data indicator that tells you if you're connected to the data farm receiving real-time updates. So that's a way that I check always if I'm on the simulator on the real account, but it's important that you're aware which environment you're connecting to. The simulator is available to everyone that has a TradeStation account. When you log on to TradeStation for the first time, you're going to see this TradeStation Today workspace. In fact, if you look at the bottom left corner, you're going to see the tab right there at the bottom left. It says TradeStation Today. If you don't see the TradeStation Today workspace, it's very easily found. You take your cursor. Let me bring my cursor over here to the top, and you hover over apps. Everybody, if you look over here at the top left of TradeStation, there's 3 bars. There's the apps, there's trade, and there's position graph bar. If you hover over apps, it'll drop down all the different icons and utilities that you can use in TradeStation. And if you look over here, let me point with my cursor because my drawing tool will not work in the apps button. You see right here, there's a TS Today button. So if you ever lose the TradeStation Today workspace, just take your cursor, hover over apps, and you find the TS Today button in there. What does the TradeStation Today do for you? Well, it provides information about what's going on at TradeStation. Let me point out a few things. Right here, you see a featured video. And if you click over here at the top, you're going to find a drop-down that gives you access to some of the recordings of presentations that have happened recently here at TradeStation. Right here in the middle, you see the TradeStation social feed. So we're connected to the TradeStation Twitter feed, and you see the posts of TradeStation. Over here on the right-hand side, you see upcoming events. So if you want to be aware of what is happening at TradeStation in regards to events and who's going to come to TradeStation to speak, you have, the upcoming events there. And if you look over here on the right edge, you see different dates that you can click on and see what are the different events for that week. Very conveniently, you have a register button that allows you to register for all these events very conveniently from the TradeStation Today workspace. All right, so I'm just going to start off with a brand new workspace. Right here at the bottom of my TradeStation, there is a plus next to the TS Today workspace. When I click on it, it's going to open up a new workspace on my TradeStation. Let me try that. And when I do that, take a look at the bottom left. Right there in the corner, it says Untitled Workspace. So this is my brand new workspace where I'm going to start opening windows that I'm going to use on TradeStation. Daniel, yes, this is TradeStation 10. This is the new version of TradeStation. If you haven't received it, we have a schedule. We're gradually allowing, TradeStation 9.5 users to upgrade to TradeStation 10. If you want to get it sooner than later, if you want to join the people that are using TradeStation 10, you're going to have to join the test program. So for those of you that are not using TradeStation 10 and you'd like to upgrade to this new version, go to the Client Center on our website, TradeStation.com. And when you go to the Client Center, you're going to find a link in there that allows you to register for the test program. So this may look a little bit different than TradeStation 9.5, but the idea here is to get everybody on the new version of TradeStation and start using the new look and feel of TradeStation. So as I said before, we have a total brand new workspace here. There's nothing in it. So I'm going to start opening new applications to start using some of the data here. So I'm going to take my cursor, come over here to the top left, hover over apps. I see all the applications that I can use. And inside this application menu, I'm going to find chart analysis. So the way that you open up a chart or create a chart is by going to apps and click on chart analysis. That'll open up a chart window for me. And you can see it right there on the screen. If I need a second chart, I just go to apps again and I click on chart analysis a second time. There's no limit to the number of apps that you can have open on a single workspace. If you look at the bottom left of my TradeStation, the tab still says Untitled. So I can organize my windows in the way that makes sense to me. So I can take my cursor, click on the title bar of any of these windows and move them around. I can click on a corner and resize it to be any shape and form that I want. I can even let TradeStation organize my windows So here I do this a lot. I go to the window menu at the very top of TradeStation. I click on Arrange All, and you're going to see how TradeStation organizes my two windows. In this case, I have two charts, and it puts them side by side. Once I've organized the windows the way that I like, I need to save the workspace, because as you spend time organizing your windows in TradeStation, you're going to want to save your workspace so that next time you log into TradeStation, everything that you created is still there, and you can just continue using it the way you left it the last time you were using it. So the way that you save a particular layout is coming here at the bottom left. I'm going to right click on this untitled workspace, and I'm going to click on Save Workspace. I'm going to call this 2 charts, if I use the right keyboard. Save, and OK. Look at the bottom. You see how the tab is now called 3 charts? That's because I saved it, and tomorrow or later when I log into TradeStation, I should have this workspace open for me. Okay, I see a few questions here. Barry, does TradeStation 10 work on iOS? We do have an iOS app that you can install on an iOS device, whether it's an iPad or an iPhone. Just go to the App Store and search for TradeStation Mobile, and you should find a TradeStation Platform in there. It's not going to be, the desktop version of TradeStation, which is the one that has all the bells and whistles, but you can access your TradeStation on iOS. Now, is it Mac compatible? There's no Mac version of TradeStation. However, if you run Windows on a Mac, you should be able to run TradeStation on a Mac. All right. Anand, yes, it is possible to change the background of a chart. I would recommend that if you want to change the dark background, just double click on the background. It'll take you to this dialog that's called Customize Window. And in the Color tab, you can change the color of pretty much every single item within the chart. Give it a try and see how that works for you. Once you change your styling, there's a Set as Default button here that is important, because once you change the background to white and you want to keep it white, you may want to set it as a default so that every time you create a new chart, it has the same colors that you want. Okay. If you're getting errors, I see a comment here about getting errors when you open up Workspace. It's important that you call tech support. If you're getting error messages because your TradeStation is acting up on you and you need to fix it. So call technical support by calling the number on our website. I believe that, yes, Christina shared it with everyone here. You see the phone numbers towards the top of the chat, and you can call them and they can fix those error messages for you. Okay, let's continue. On this particular workspace that I have here, I may not need 2 charts. I'm going to click on the X of 1 and just stay with 1 chart. And I'm going to resize it by clicking on the edge and stretching it. I'm going to show you a couple things here in charting, because it's important that we know how to modify the chart. I think that's, as traders, we want to look at price activity and where the price has been historically. So here is a chart. If you look at the top left corner of the chart, you're going to see the symbol. It's Microsoft. And you also see the data interval. Right there, it says that it's a 5-minute chart. So I see the candles, and I see that this is a 5-minute chart. If you look over here very closely, right there, I can see the session break. It may not be very clear on your screen, but if you look on your TradeStations, you're going to see a dotted line. Is more like a vertical line, letting you know where the session begins. So that's where my session begins, and all these bars or all these candles that I see here, that's today's trading activity at a 5-minute interval. A couple things that I'm going to show you. First of all, changing the symbol. I may not be interested in Microsoft. Maybe I want to look at a different symbol and I want to change it. And I'm also going to show you how to change the data interval. Maybe I don't want a 5-minute chart. I want a daily chart. So let's go ahead and do that. The first thing that I do is changing the symbol, and I can do that by just typing it in. So I can just say, let's say that I want to take a look at Twitter. So TWTR. Let me try that one again. All right, so just a moment. Let me tell my chart is not giving me my behavior. So let's go ahead and create a new chart. Sometimes when I use the drawing tool, to draw on TradeStation, it just has that behavior. But here's the same chart of Microsoft that I had a moment ago. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the symbol to Twitter, TWTR. That's because I'm using the wrong keyboard. That's why it's not working. All right, so when I type in the key, when I type in the actual characters of Twitter, TWTR, I want you to look right here in the middle of the screen, because this should happen on your TradeStation platforms as well. As soon as you start typing, the command line shows up in the middle of the screen, and you can see TWTR right there in the middle. So I just have to hit the Enter key on my keyboard, and it should take the command. And there we go. You can see right here on the top left corner that Twitter has been loaded, and it just requires you to type in the symbol and hit Enter. Very simple. The time frame that we talked about, the 5-minute, if you look over here on the top of the chart, there is a time frame drop down. Very convenient for you to switch to a different time frame. So I want to see a daily chart. I come down here and I select daily. And here's a daily chart of Twitter. Okay, if you don't see the time frame you're looking for, let's say that you go to time frame over here and you don't see what you're looking for in the options that we have in this drop down, just click on Customize at the very end of this drop down, and you'll have all different options of different intervals that you can use. Okay, perfect. So time frame and symbol can be changed by typing it in and hitting Enter, and the time frame can be changed by clicking on this drop down and changing the actual time frame. One more thing that I wanted to show you here in charting is how to compress the chart and expand it. Very easily, I can open up the chart by pressing the up arrow key on my keyboard. If I press the up arrow key on my keyboard multiple times, you can see how the chart will provide you more space between the candles. If you press the down arrow key on the keyboard multiple times, the opposite will happen. You see how the chart compresses, and you can see more of the historical data. Now, one thing that I wanted to point out, you probably see all these different markers on my chart, right? Now that's historical trading activity, even on the simulator. So I've used Twitter as an example many times before, and every time that I traded, TradeStation remembers that trade, and it'll show me that trade on the chart. It'll tell me where I entered and exited Twitter, which is interesting. It's very convenient if you're trying to keep track of where you entered and exited the market. However, sometimes you may want to clear the chart of that information. Especially, I want to focus on analysis. So if you want to remove any of that information, just right click on any of the little arrows, and I'm just going to click on Disable Account Orders and Positions. When I do that, the information should go away. In this case, it didn't. So let me go here to the Settings tab, go to Account Orders and Positions, and you see how the status, you can turn on the status on and off right here on the chart. All right, doesn't seem like it wants to change my screen, so let's go ahead and continue. All right, this is the daily chart. Let me go back to a 5-minute. All right, my chart may have given me a problem here. Let me close that chart and open up a new one. There we go. So that's Twitter, daily. Right click on the little arrows and disable. Okay, I guess that's not working, so let's just leave it the way it is. All right. So let me go back to my chart. I'm going to bring a chart of applied materials. Again, the way you change the symbol is by typing it in. All right, and I'm going to change my time frame to daily. There we go. Now, on this symbol, I'm going to do some analysis. If you're looking for technical analysis, or what we call indicators or studies, they are at the top of the chart. So I want everyone to look at the chart in TradeStation because there is a very convenient toolbar right here at the top of the chart that'll give you not only the time frame, but it'll give you a drawing menu, it'll give you the studies menu, and also give you the style menu. So look at all the different menu drop downs that are at the top of the chart because it'll give you a lot of features for you to customize and make the chart look the way you want. In this particular example, I'm going to click on Studies, and notice how there's a button here that says Add Study. When you go here, you're going to find all the indicators that you find in... Let me just pull this down. There we go. Okay, so I'm not sure if you were seeing that, but let me go ahead and repeat that. For some reason, I had a different window pull up. So let me go here to Studies and Add Study, and that's where you go to and find all the different indicators that are available in TradeStation. In this example, let me go ahead and scroll down. I'm going to use a moving average two-line indicator so that we can see how indicators can be formatted. It doesn't matter which one you use. I'm going to use the procedure here, and that way you'll have an understanding on how to format and stylize your indicators. So let's click OK here, and that'll add the two lines on my screen. Okay, everybody sees the two lines. In a moving average two-line indicator, what we're looking for is for the two lines to cross. That is an indication, according to the moving average two line, that there's a change, that there could be a change in trend. So let's go ahead and modify that or those two lines because I didn't supply parameters. You know, as a TradeStation user, you may want to say, well, I want to see a 30 period moving average versus a 50 period moving average. The way we do that is by double clicking on the lines. And you're going to see a lot of times that if you want to change the style of any item within TradeStation, double clicking on that item provides you a way to do that. Do you remember when somebody asked me how to change the color of the background and I said double click on the background? It gives you a way to customize the background. Now in this case, if I want to modify the moving averages, I can double click on the lines. If I double click on the lines, it takes me to this dialog titled Customize Indicator Moving Average Two Lines. There's a couple things that I want to show you here. The first thing is how to change the parameters, because this is the same step that you're going to follow if you want to change the parameters of any other indicator. It's exactly the same. Here I see the fast length and the slow length. I'm going to change the fast to 30 and the slow to 50 and then click OK. As soon as I do that, you can see the two lines changing on the screen. When you use an indicator like this, another thing that you want to receive is an alert if a crossover occurs. Because it's very easy, you know, historically to see where those two lines have crossed. But if I want to be, you know, alerted if it happens in real time, if it happens right now, I can turn on an alert. No one here has the time to be sitting, you know, looking at a chart waiting for the crossover to occur. You let the software monitor the crossover, and when it happens, then TradeStation can alert you and say, hey, there's a crossover here. We need to pay attention to it. How do we get that indicator to give us an alert? Well, as a TradeStation user, all you have to do is turn on the alert. Why? Because alerts are already pre-programmed into the indicator. They're turned off, but they're already pre-programmed. How do you turn on the alert on that moving average two line? Again, we're going to double click on one of the lines. Let me double click. And the same way that we find the inputs tab for you to supply the parameters that you wish, you can also go to the alerts tab and enable the alert. That's all you need to do. Of course, you can go a step further and specify how you want to be alerted. So there's different behaviors here. So I can say, give me an alert once per bar. I don't have to be alerted on every single tick. And then I can say, use the global messaging and configure. And I can choose the type of sound that is triggered. I can also get a visual or a pop-up window if an alert is triggered, or I can even send an email or a text message to my phone. So great feature, all based on technical analysis. So it's a great way for you to be notified when something's happening on the chart. All right, so to recap the charting section of this presentation, I showed you where to find charts. I showed you how to change the symbol. Remember, you type it in, hit enter. We click here on time frame to select the time frame that you wish to analyze, and then you go to studies to add studies if you want to look at any technical indicators on your chart. The drawing tools are right here next to or right in between time frame and studies, and you can go to the drawing menu to click on any of the items here if you want to draw something on the chart. All right. As I said before, this is on a high level. I just wanted to point out to where things are, but it does require you to get in there, click on an item, get your hands dirty, if we may say so, on the platform and use all the different features to see how they work. There's a lot of documentation on the help files of TradeStation, so don't hesitate to go to the help menu right here at the top of TradeStation, and then go to get help and go to platform trading. We have a whole online documentation help file that will provide information on every single feature of TradeStation. All right, let's continue. I'm going to open up a second or a third workspace tab right here at the bottom of TradeStation, because I'm going to show you a little bit of trading. Now, if you paid attention at the very top of TradeStation, there is a trade bar. So if I hover over trade, I see a trade bar where I can put in my trades. A lot of people here are used to seeing the trade bar in the way that it appears right there at the top. So if you want to use a trade bar the way that is there, you're welcome to. This is a manual order entry tool, meaning that you do have to go in there manually and enter the symbol, the quantity, the price, and so forth. So it's a manual process. I want to show you a tool here in TradeStation that it's a little bit more efficient, and I call it a little bit more efficient because it's faster when you put in the trades. If you do want to use a trade bar, that's fine. That's the reason why we provide different order entry tools so that you can choose the one that you feel more comfortable with. Okay, so let me hover out of the trade bar, and I'm going to go to apps, and the order entry tool that I'm talking about is the matrix. So let me click on matrix. It's one of the buttons here in the apps menu. The matrix opens up. My font is a little bit overboard, so let me change the font here of my matrix. If you want to change the font of your matrix because it's too small or too big, go to the settings tab and click on window, or the settings button right there at the top of the matrix, and go to window. I'm going to go to the font tab and see my font is set to 24. That's a tad too big. I'm going to change it to 11 and set it as a default. That's much better. Okay, so we have the symbol right here on the top. We have the last traded price. We have the net change. AMAT is down 38 cents compared to yesterday. Position is 0, meaning that we don't have any shares of AMAT. And it gives you an open P&L, closed P&L, and cumulative P&L, the quantity for the order bar, and the account that is being traded. So that's the information that we see at the top of TradeStation, or the top of the matrix. Now, if you see at the top left corner, the symbol is loaded. So you see that this is AMAT, the company is Applied Materials, and the information that you see there is for Applied Materials. Now, the reason why I like to use the matrix, it's because it provides you a lot of information about what's going on with Applied Materials. First of all, I see the current trading price. You see the 43.33? That is the current price of Applied Materials. Not only I see the current trading price, but I also see what buyers want, and I also see what sellers want. This is buy, and this is sell right here. So the sellers are going to want a higher price, and that's why they're at the red at the top. And the buyers are going to want a lower price. And you see the relationship between buyers and sellers. But not only that, but you also see the number of shares. These numbers that are here, those are the number of shares that buyers and sellers are offering or submitting to the market. Buyers is are offering their intentions to buy, and the sellers have shares of AMAT that are trying to get rid and sell into the market. So a lot of this information can be used as a market sentiment indicator because you can tell, where the most pressure is. Also, here on the right-hand side, you see actual volume. So this is the number of shares that have been traded at each one of these price levels, which is interesting because sometimes, depending on the activity or how much volume a particular price generates, you can try to identify support and resistance levels throughout the day, which is a very interesting way of looking at the market. So there's a lot of information going on here, and it's great for you to put in your trades because you're submitting trades based on a lot more information. Okay? Perfect. So to answer your question, Juan, yes, TradeStation works on virtual machines. I know many users that rent out, some space on a virtual computer, and they can access that computer through the web. That's something that is possible. But then again, it's all depending on how much bandwidth you have in your internet and how responsive that interface is. TradeStation is not web-based, at least the one that I'm showing right now. This is software that's running on a computer, so it's fast and it runs very efficiently. All right, so let's continue on. I'm going to put in some trades here. So let me turn off my drawing tool. I'm going to take my cursor and I just click on the prices that I want. So over here on the right, there is a trade bar with different order settings. So before you put in a trade, take a look on the right and see what things can you change. For example, if I want to trade 1,000 shares, I can go to the quantity field and type it in. I want 1,000 shares of applied material. The duration is how long the order is going to be active for. I'm going to submit a trade, and if I do it for a day duration, it's going to be good for today's trading activity. But at 4 p.m., that order is going to be canceled. We're going to talk about some other functionality that's here, like OCO and OSO, in a little moment, but I'm just going to show you a simple trade. I know that AMAT is trading at 43.35. I want to buy it at 43.30. I think that's the best price for me. So I'm going to submit my order. What I do, if I want to buy, I take my cursor and I put it right here on the blue. It's very simple. I haven't clicked, but notice on the left-hand side how my matrix is getting ready to buy 1,000 limit at that price that is highlighted. So you go to the blue that corresponds to the price that you want for your order. And all you need to do is you click inside the blue, and that sends an order to buy. Now you just notice that I did not get a confirmation on my matrix. I disabled the confirmation just for this presentation. I don't want to click on the confirmation every single time, so I've disabled it. If you click on your matrix, you get a little box. It's a confirmation window letting you know information about your order. Confirmations are great because it tells you, information about the order before you enter it. So sometimes if you make an error, you can catch it before the order goes through. So once you click on OK on the confirmation, then the order shows up right here on the left of the matrix. You see that blue box right there on the left-hand side? That's my order sitting right there waiting to get filled. You see how it corresponds to the price right here, 43.30, and the market activity. You can see how it relates to the order. It's great features. If I want to change the price of my order, let's say that the market's going up and you want to improve your chances of getting filled, I'm going to move my order a couple of pennies higher. So instead of 43.30, I want 43.32. Now on the matrix, you can click and drag. Not a lot of order entry tools out there provide you click and drag functionality. It's something very simple to do, and it's very visual. So I'm going to take my cursor, click on that blue box over here, and drag it one. Let's do 3 pennies. 1, 2, 3 to 43.33. In fact, we can go a little bit higher since the market moved higher at 43.35. I'm going to drop it here, and you can see how the order is canceled and replaced. Click and drag is very simple to do on the matrix. When you click and drag, you're canceling the original order and entering a new one. So it's very interesting functionality. Now let's say that I want to get filled right now. You see where the sellers are? The best selling price is right here, because that's where the first offer to sell is. It's at $43.39. That's the best price that I can get. So if I want to get filled, I have to bring my order and drop it in there where the sellers are. I mean, I can leave my order there and wait until it gets filled at $43.35. Well, what if it doesn't and you want to get in right now? Well, right now it seems like it's going to go down, but I want to drop it where the sellers are. So I'm going to click my order and drag it over here to where the sellers are. And as soon as I do that, take a look at what happened. This blue row that you see here, that's my entry price, and it highlights in blue the price that I got filled at. I got filled at $43.39. Not only that, but here on the left-hand side, I want to see P&L. P&L based on my entry price. If it goes up, I make some money because I'm in a long trade, and if it goes down, I lose money. Now let me show you something really interesting here on the matrix, because if I wanted to set a stop, it's very simple. I come over here to my negative columns, or the column or the portion of the column where I see the negative numbers, and I can just click on a negative amount and I'll set a stop based on that amount. So if I click on this negative 100, let me open up my orders column a little bit. If I hover over the 100, take a look at it, at what it says there. It says sell 1000 stop market. So if I click here on the negative 100, that's my stop. That red box that you see right here, that's my stop waiting to get filled. If the price of AMAT drops to that price, I'll potentially lose $100, but that's my protective stop. If I want to cancel that order, it just requires one single click. I'll take my cursor, hover over the red, and notice how it says cancel order. I'll just click once. Once I do that, the order is gone. Now you can do that on the negative side, and you can do that on the positive side. So if it's going up and I want to capture some of that profit, I can say, well, if it reaches $100, I want to sell. And notice how it says sell limit instead of sell stop. So it's intelligent in the sense that it knows what type of order is required depending on which side of the current price you are. Again, to cancel the order, I can just click over here over the red box and it takes, or it cancels the trade. Okay. Okay, we're going to talk about multi-order setups. I see the question there about how to send all these orders at once. So before I do so, let me show you where trailing stops are, because that's a very common question. So if you look over here on the right-hand side, you have two buttons. You have a buy trail stop and a sell trail stop. So you can set trailing stops on a buy order or a sell order. Since I'm already long, I can do a trailing stop based on an amount of points or percentage. Notice the drop down here. I'm going to set a trailing stop at 5 cents, and I just have to make sure that I have the correct quantity here, 100, and I click on the sell trailing stop button, and that sends my trailing stop right there. It's at 43.25 right now. You see the trail amount right there in the box. It says trail by 5 cents. You can see how as the market goes up, my trailing stop moves. Now it's not at 43.25 anymore. It's at 43.27 because the market went in my favor a couple of pennies and my stop moved. That's a trailing stop, and the trailing stop buttons are right here on the right-hand side, the trade bar of the matrix. Let me cancel that trailing stop by just clicking on the box here. And ideally, what I want to do is I want to bracket my position. You know, somebody made a question there. How do I have a target and a stop at the same time? Well, over here on the right-hand side, you have a place OCO order. OCO, for those that are not familiar, stands for order cancels order. So you can have two orders working for a position, and if one gets filled, the other side gets canceled. And it works great if you have a profit target and a stop loss. That way you have a trade that manages itself. When you've already made a decision as to how much money you want to make and how much money you're willing to lose, you put those values into your order, and then you just leave it there and let it monitor itself. I can click on the place OCO order, but before I do, there's different templates. So we work with this drop down right below the OCO order button. We click on it, and you have some entry OCOs and exits. I'm going to choose the exit bracket with one limit and one stop. This is just a simple order that gets you some profit and protects you if it goes against you. Once I click it, if you look over here on the right hand side, there's a little ellipsis button. It has 3 dots. You can use those 3 dots to modify, the distance of your profit target and your stop loss. Now you can do it there by clicking on that button, or you can just click and drag once you put it in. Let me show you. I'm going to put it in by clicking on the Place OCO Order button. And take a look. On my matrix, you have your first order. This is for profits. And then you have your second order, which is for your losses. Okay, so profit and loss are working together. If one gets filled, the other side gets canceled. So that's why it's called a bracket. And it's done using this button on the right-hand side, which is the Place OCO button. Great feature. So once you have a position on and you want to bracket your position, you can use the Place OCO button. Now let's take this one step further. I'm going to leave those orders there for the moment. Let me just click and drag them. I can modify them. Let me put my stop at 150 and let me put my target at 200. Okay. Notice that I just clicked and dragged, and I can do that with any active order inside my matrix. So technically what I want to do, and this is something that I want to talk to you about. So what we're going to talk about here is a special kind of trade where you have an entry that gets you into a position, whether that's short or long. But at the same time, we want to take that position and attach brackets or exits. This is a trade that's going to manage itself fully. I think somebody in the chat mentioned, okay, what if I want to send a trade and not have to worry about, setting my targets and my stops? That's something that the matrix allows you to do very easily because it has certain templates that you can build a trade like that. So let's go over here to TradeStation and I'll show you exactly how to do that. Okay, here on my matrix, let's change the symbol. I'm going to change the symbol to a futures contract. So let's go to ESU 18. This is futures. I know there are some futures traders right here in class. We're going to do an all-inclusive trade where we buy one contract, but at the same time, that contract is going to have exits and exits attached to it. We're going to use this checkbox right here in my matrix called Attach OSO. Notice how it's grayed out, so it's not until you check the box that the drop down allows you to select the type of exits that you're going to be using. So in this case, I'm just going to click on the checkbox for Attach OSO. And then I'm going to click on the drop down, because the drop down or the different variations here is if you want to have multiple targets and multiple stops. In this example, I'm going to use something simple so that we don't overcomplicate the functionality, and then you can experiment using the other templates. I'm going to use the top one, which is 1L, 1S. Send one limit and one stop, one target and one loss. Again, you have the ellipses on the right. You can go in there and modify the distance or the offset of these, exits. And the way that you express that, let me show you. Let me click on the ellipses. The way that you express the offset, if you look over here, it's by minimum movements and futures. So notice how this is 10 points higher, or 10 ticks higher and 10 ticks lower. That is the distance of your exits. You can modify those. But I'm just gonna use the defaults, and I'm gonna put in a trade. Notice what happens when I put in a trade right here at 28.99. As soon as I do that, I want you to take a look at what happened on the screen. We have our buy order right there. This is buy. And if you notice, we have 2 exits. Now they are a little dark in color because they're not active yet. They are connected to my entry. So they're both connected to that entry. Whatever happens to that entry, those 2 orders are affected. Let me show you what happens. Let me move my order down 1 point. From 28.99, I'm going to move it to 28.98. When I click it, drag it down. And as soon as I do that, notice how the whole setup shifts because it's connected. Now let me move it up closer to the market activity. You see how the whole setup shifts? I can move these individual exits to different locations as well. So don't think that you're only able to modify the actual entry order. If I want to make my profit a little bit closer, I can just click and drag, or further away, I can just click and drag. So those orders can also be modified. So let me go ahead and get filled here. I'm going to drop it in the inside ask. And as soon as I do that, notice how my exits are activated. You can see the red over here and the red over here. Those are active orders monitoring my position. So this is the type of trade where you put in your entry and it has the exits attached. It makes it very convenient. So make sure to use the matrix. Take it for a test drive. I'm pretty sure you're going to enjoy the functionality. In the last 10 minutes of the class, I'm going to show you some scanning tools. But before I do so, let me save this workspace. I'm going to right click, save workspace. I'm going to call it the matrix. All right, I'm going to open up a new workspace. I'm going to show you, before I go to scanning, one window that is going to help you keep track of your trades. I'm going to go to apps. That window is called the Trade Manager. So open up the Trade Manager is one of the buttons right there in the apps menu. The Trade Manager will give you a list of every single order that has been submitted in your account. Helps a lot. Here I can see that the rows are color coded. So based on the color, I'm able to see if the account or if the order is active, if the order is canceled, if it's still working for me. So you can see the different colors. You can see the gray ones are the ones that are active. The blue ones are filled. It goes by the status. So if you click on order status, you see how every status has its own color. You have some control over those orders right here from this view. Just right click on the row and you can just, you can cancel orders, you can close positions and so forth. Two tabs you're going to keep an eye on when you bring up the Trade Manager. Orders tab, look at the bottom here. There's the Orders tab, and then you have the Positions tab, which gives you a list of your positions in your account. The two positions that I opened up today are in red, meaning that they're losing. One more thing that I didn't show you earlier was the position graph bar at the top of my TradeStation. Whenever I have positions open in my account, I like to see the position graph bar at the top because it gives me a view of where my positions are. So let me go over here to position, and every one of these bars has a push pin which allows me to dock the bar to the top of my TradeStation. That way it's always visible at the top of the screen. So when I switch over to a new workspace, notice how those positions are always at the top and I can see how they're doing. Look at the number that's inside of them. For AMAT, the number is -45, so I'm losing about $45 there. And if you look at the S&P E-mini, it's -50. So inside the box, you have the real-time P&L for that position, which is very convenient. From those boxes that you see up there, you can also manage the position by right-clicking. Notice that you have a full menu with different things like close position, cancel orders, and so forth. Okay, let's talk about scanning. We only have about 10 minutes for me to show you this feature, but I think it's one of the most useful features of TradeStation when it comes to identifying trading opportunities. So let's go over here to the apps, and I'll open up RadarScreen. So RadarScreen is our scanning tool, real-time scanning tool. Let me resize this so that it fills the whole area. And notice how in the symbol column, you can type in symbols manually. You're welcome to do that one by one if you want to. I'm going to use a package of symbols. TradeStation has symbol lists that are pre-packaged, so you just have to insert the symbols. I'm going to go to the data button right here at the top of my radar screen, and I'm going to go to add symbol list. When you go to add symbol list, notice how there's other symbol lists. So when you get a chance, come here and see all the different lists that are available in TradeStation. I think it'll provide you with scanning opportunities on different sectors if you want to do it that way. In this example, I'm just going to use the NASDAQ 100 index. So I'm just going to click right here from the menu, and that's going to add 100 symbols to my radar screen. very quickly, and you can see the numbers are updating in real time. Now, what sets RadarScreen apart from any other quotes window is this column right here. You see the interval column? Interval right now, it says 5 minute. And you know that interval is a term that we use usually for charting. When you have charting, you take a look at the interval so you can see historical data based on a specific data interval. In this case, this 5 minute that you see here represents historical data that is being loaded for each one of the symbols here in RadarScreen, which takes me to my next point. By having historical data here, you're able to use technical analysis. Yes, all those indicators that you use in charting, like MACD, Bollinger Band, moving averages, you can use them right here. I'm going to click on the plus right here to the right of interval. When I do that, I get the list of studies that are available for charting. I'm going to use the same moving average 2-line that we used at the beginning so that we can keep the examples the simplest as possible. So this is the moving average 2 lines, and I'll click OK. You can see how the 2 lines are calculated for all my 100 symbols. You see the most current value of those moving averages. You don't see the lines as you do it on a chart. That's why whenever I do technical scanning, like for example on a moving average, I tend to open up a chart on the right-hand side of the radar screen so that I can see historical movement as well. And that's something that you can do on your TradeStation as well. Let me resize my radar screen, go to apps, and open up a chart. I'm just going to put it right here next to my radar screen. All right, let me put it right here. I'll resize the chart. Now, one thing that I want to do is I want to do the scan on daily bars. I'm going to change the time frame of the chart to daily. Okay, that's a daily chart. And I'm also going to do it here in RadarScreen. I don't want a 5-minute interval for this particular scan. I want to use daily bars. So I'm going to click on the symbol header to highlight or select all the symbols. And I'm going to go to time frame right here. Notice how we have a time frame button similar to the one in charting, and change this to daily. As soon as I do that, not only did interval column change to daily, but I'm not sure if you noticed, but the values under this column, the moving average, recalculated. And I can see now values based on a daily bar. All right, let's take this one step further. Okay. I'm going to do some window linking. Before I do that, let me take a couple of questions here. The difference between OSO and OCO, okay? Just to understand the acronyms, OSO is order sends order, and OCO is order cancels order. Sometimes you use them independently, sometimes you use them in combination. For example, remember the trade that we put in for, let me see if I bring it up here. The trade we put in for the S&P E-mini, we used the attach OSO. So we do have a primary trade that buys or sells short. This is the one that enters you into a position. And that order, that primary order, is going to send exits. That's where the OSO comes in. Order sends order. You have a primary that sends exits. Now these two exits are connected. So they are in an OCO. Order cancels order. If one is filled, the other one gets canceled. So depending on what setup you're using, you may be using OCO, OSO, or a combination of both. But one is order sends order, the other is order cancels order. Okay. And the reason why we started with the matrix is because it provides so much more information than a regular trade bar. I feel that it provides you market interest, buyers and sellers. It provides you volume. It provides you a price range where the market has been. If you go to the trade bar at the top of TradeStation, sometimes you're missing out on all that information. Let me go over here to my radar screen because I want to do something. I just applied a moving average to 100 symbols. I'm going to do it right here on this chart. I'm going to add a study. And I'm going to do the moving average 2-line here as well. And I want to link the two windows together. Linking is great because you don't have to change the symbol on the chart. You just click on the symbols on the radar screen and you have that symbol show up on the chart, which is very convenient. If you look at the top of my windows, there's a window linking button. And if you look at my chart, I can see the window linking buttons right there on the chart as well. As long as the buttons are the same color, those windows are linked. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to take my cursor and click on the S for my radar screen, and I'm going to click on the S of my chart. Notice what happens when I click on a symbol from the left. I'm going to click on Apple, AAPL, and as soon as I do that, Apple gets loaded right here on the right-hand side of my chart. Very convenient. Now, ideally, the reason why I'm doing this is because I want to scan all these 100 symbols and find the ones that are crossing right now. I know that I'm running out of time. I have 3 minutes, but I want to show you this because it's very powerful. I'm going to right-click on the header for the moving average, 2-line, go to Studies, and I'm going to edit the moving average 2 lines for all symbols. When I do that, I can enable an alert for all the symbols that are here. I can choose the alert to be continuous, but I'm going to disable the messaging. Messaging meaning the sirens that get triggered and the pop-up messages. When you turn on an alert on hundreds of symbols like this, you're better off, turning off messaging. The least you want to do is spending time clicking off every single alert pop-up message. So I disable messaging. I click OK. And if you notice, every so often, I'm not sure if you see that on the screen, but every so often I see these red markers on the side of the column. Those red markers are letting me know that those symbols are crossing right now on the moving average. This is very powerful because how difficult would it have been if you had to do that one chart at a time? It would have taken a long time. Here, I just dump all the symbols in my radar screen, put the technical analysis, and turn on the alert. I'm going to take this one step further because I don't want all these alerts to be scattered in the list of symbols. I want them to be grouped at the top. And I need to enable something which is called sorting. I'm going to go to the settings button right here in my radar screen. And I'm going to go to page. In the page tab, on the page dialog, there's a sort tab. And I can sort by the moving average 2 lines alert. So I select the alert of the moving average to dictate the sort. Once I click OK, take a look. Out of all the 100 symbols, we have 9 that are crossing at this precise moment. And having a chart on the right-hand side, it's very beneficial because I can click on any of these symbols. Like, for example, I can click on Adobe Systems and notice what's happening right here on the moving averages or crossing on the current bar. I can click on the next symbol, which is ADI. This is Analog Devices, is the name of the corporation. And if I click on it, notice the crossover. The crossover is happening right now as we speak. RadarScreen is a real-time scanner, and it's a great feature if you're looking for specific events, such as a crossover, or something maybe unique, like a calculation that you're creating, and you can use our programming language to put that into RadarScreen as well. So the possibilities are endless. I just wanted to squeeze in this functionality because I think scanning is a great tool if you're looking for trading opportunities across the different markets. So as a recap, this is a class where I showed you how to do some charting. So we changed the symbol in charts. Let me see if I pulled them up here. We changed the symbol of the chart by typing it in. We also changed the time frame here at the top of the chart. We used a technical indicator, a moving average. I showed you how to change the parameters and how to turn on the alert. After that, we came over here to the matrix, where I showed you how to click on the blue to buy and the red to sell. I also showed you how to click and drag to change an order. And we talked about OCOs and OSOs briefly. There's a lot more videos on the TradeStation University that you can watch. I'll have my colleague here send a link to the TradeStation University, but it's on the TradeStation website. But if you go to the TradeStation University and you want to learn a little bit more about OCO, just go to the search field, type in OCO, and you're going to get a lot more videos that talk about the OCO functionality. And that's again on the TradeStation University. Once we showed you and completed the matrix, I went over here to the scanning tool that allows you pretty much to find out specific events across different markets. All right. The TradeStation University link is right there in the chat. I do want to take another minute of your time to talk to you about the TradeStation Masterclass. Masterclass, let me bring up a browser here on my screen, and I'll have my colleague here also send you a link to the TradeStation Masterclass page. Let me get out of this. All right, I wanted to show you a browser. All right, this is the TradeStation website. And in the TradeStation website, I'm going to go to / and go to the masterclass. All right, this is the link that my colleague is going to share with you right there on the chat. The masterclass is a live event. It's a live in-person event that allows you to learn TradeStation in a in-person environment. So you come and join us in a classroom where we have an instructor to show you not only TradeStation, but also show you strategy trading and also show you some easy language programming. Our next masterclass is going to be in Florida, September 24th through the 28th, and you have all the different registration options here and a little bit more information about the masterclass. Christina has a
guest speakers are Larry Williams, Fausto Pugliese, among other speakers that we have joining us.
Sure. If you look at towards the bottom of the page, you're going to have a list of guest speakers that are going to be joining us during the masterclass, and it makes it a great learning experience that I'm pretty sure you will not want to miss. Especially if you're just getting started with TradeStation. If you're a little bit more advanced, you know, we have the strategy trading class and the easy language class, which are also very beneficial to those that have been using TradeStation for a while. So make sure that you keep an eye on that class. The link is on the chat for you to learn more about it. And if you have any questions about the class, send us an email at learning@tradestation.com and we'll provide more information. Okay. In about 27 minutes, we're going to start our follow-up class to the Getting Started, where I show you web and mobile, meaning that I'll show you how to use your TradeStation account using a web browser and also how to download and install the TradeStation mobile app on your phones that you can use, so you can access and trade from any mobile device. Okay, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate the fact that you took time out of your schedules to join me here, and I hope that the class was beneficial to you guys. See you in the next event. Have a great afternoon. Bye-bye, everyone.